In the 2008 election cycle, and Barack Obama was running against John McCain, in California, there was a very divisive ballot proposition. I could spend a lot of time talking about ballot props in California, other states. We don't have time for that today. For what it's worth, I think it's a dumb way to do things, but in California, they do it that way, and in other states as well. On the ballot that year was a ballot proposition called Prop 8, and you no doubt heard about it at the time, even if you don't remember now. Prop 8 was extremely controversial, and in essence what it did was it would ban gay marriage in California. At the time, this was 2008, this was still a very hot-button issue, very much a hot-button issue, and very much a divisive issue. And in the state of California, where as the results began to come in, as they began to be analyzed, Barack Obama won the state by 61 to 39%, 36%, what most people would consider to be a pretty good bitch slap. Barack Obama won pretty handily. At the same time that this election was going on, though, on the ballot, I said, was Prop 8, and Prop 8 was remarkable in a lot of ways. And I said back then, the people who are pro-gay marriage, in other words, anti-Prop 8, seemed to be running a campaign that was inept, incompetent. It was flat out for what it claimed to be, which was this great human rights thing. It seemed like it was unable to get out of its own way. It was one of the most incompetent campaigns I've ever seen in my life for something that was supposedly a real California issue. Real Californians, you understand, would support gay marriage. They wouldn't want it banned. And I said on the air at the time, and I caught a lot of flack for it back then. I said on the air at the time that I believed that the people who were anti-Prop 8, pro-gay marriage, wanted it to pass. Well, that doesn't make any sense, Dave. Why would they want it to be passed? Well, they wanted it to be passed because the patchwork of laws around the country left a lot of questions to be answered. If Prop 8 were passed, a federal case could be filed, a federal case that would be decided in the courts and would consequently become the law of the land. You see? They wanted it to pass. They wanted it to be upheld in the lower courts, which didn't make sense to me because eventually it was going to go to the Ninth Circuit Court, which would have struck it down anyway, but and then be appealed all the way up to the Supreme Court. That's what they were planning for. Unfortunately for them, it didn't work out that way. Prop 8 did pass. Interesting, in an election where Barack Obama got 61% of the state, Prop 8 got 52% of the vote, yes, and passed in the state of California. And when you look at a map of where it passed and how it passed, it was, about like you would expect. The coastal areas were against it, whereas the inland areas were for it, which, of course, raises the specter of the question about whether or not the distribution of votes is correct in California. In other words, right now, because the Supreme Court once upon a time ruled one person, one vote, the power in California lies on the coast, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Sacramento to a lesser degree. But if it were one voter, one vote, that would shift markedly inland, which, of course, is what happened way back when. So Prop 8 passes. And, of course, the inevitable begins. This ends up in district court in California. And the state of California, under Jerry Brown, governor at the time, refused to defend the law. The state voters passed law. The state government refused to defend the law. So there was all kinds of arguments about who has standings to defend the law, blah, blah, blah. And, of course, inevitably, the district judge, a guy by the name of Von Walker, struck down Prop 8 as unconstitutional. He did so in a 150-plus page, I called it at the time, screed, completely unnecessary. His ruling, to me, remains one of the most, I would say, flat-out offensive things I've ever read. He didn't need to go on for 150 pages. He could have done this in 25 pages. He literally could have done it in one page, but they don't like to do that. But he interjected into it a lot of personal opinion and the likes of that. At any rate, he struck down the law. The problem is, by him striking it down, it didn't need to go any further, you see, because the Ninth Circuit Court was going to uphold him. And this created a situation where the people who had wanted Prop 8 passed so that they could get it in front of the Supreme Court, well, their plan blew up in their face because Judge Von Walker and the Ninth Circuit Court kept it from going to the Supreme Court. Now, ultimately, it did go to the Supreme Court, but on cases from somewhere else. It wasn't Prop 8 that took gay marriage to the Supreme Court of the United States. And so their little plan, I guess Judge Walker didn't get the memo, never made it where it was supposed to go. And so gay marriage became the law of the land, but it wasn't California that did it. I still think there's some bitter feelings about that, but take that as it will. What does any of that have to do with what's going on today? I hear you cry. And I get it. The leak fiasco of the draft opinion written by Justice Samuel Alito on the overturning of Roe v. Wade it's a red herring, folks. Do you understand that? You're being misled about all of it. Now, I get it. I look at things differently. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there are times when I look at the dots and go, well, if you connect the dots, I mean, it's not a conspiracy if it certainly looks like a duck, right? We're being misled by the timing of the release. We're all led to believe that this happened 2 days ago on Monday afternoon, and consequently, that was the first anybody had heard of it. That's ridiculous. The timing of the protest in Washington, D.C. is indicative of the fact that somebody knew it was coming and leaked that to potential protesters so that they could get to the steps of the Supreme Court and begin their protest. There are rumors today that the White House had known for some time about the leak. But more than that, there is telling evidence that others had it as well. On the 26th of April of this year, the Wall Street Journal issued an abortion in the Supreme Court op-ed in which, if you read it closely, you will discover that there are phrases, turns of phrases, words, ideas that seem to be directly lifted from the draft opinion. And in fact, in one line of the op-ed, they announce that Justice Samuel Alito, if it's going to be overturned, that Justice Alito will be the one writing the opinion. Did the Wall Street Journal already have it? That's a question that needs to be answered. That's why I say we're being misled by the timing of this. I think that the powers that be have known about this for at least a week before we were told, and probably longer than that. The vice president suddenly stricken with COVID, but manages to pop up and give a speech a couple of days before this release about what topic should we talk about? Oh, yeah, abortion. and abortion rights. There's some pretty compelling evidence, in my view, that they have known about this for a while. That said, who benefits from the leak? Now, look, I'm a conservative, the right side. I listen to a lot of right side people, and I know what our position is, that the left had to leak this because it's going to create obvious benefits for the left with regards to the midterms. It creates an energizing of their base. I get all that. I understand it. But what if the right's behind it? What if the political right leaked this? As I said, the Wall Street Journal's op-ed, which you can read, it's still online, you can go look it up yourself, is decidedly critical of the Chief Justice. And the fact that, despite the fact that Dobbs, the case, would seem to compel an overturning of Roe v. Wade, it seems like the Chief Justice might be trying to, sway some votes. And we don't think he should do that. Other conservative outlets have called for the Chief Justice to resign over this. And consequently, there's this mindset that all of a sudden, well, maybe what really needs to happen here is we need to stop Justice Roberts from trying to switch votes. And what better way to do that than to release the draft opinion early, showing that they have the votes to overturn it, but Chief Justice Roberts, who already caved and already did exactly this same thing on Obamacare, might be trying to do it again, and we got to stop him. What if? Both sides in this debate have had the motivation and the opportunity. Both have had the MO to create the leak. It benefits them in their minds. It benefits them either way. And this leak, this is the thing to keep in mind, this leak is probably not a crime. I know 250 some odd years of Supreme Court rulings has never happened before. I get that. But it's not actually a criminal act. Keep that in mind. And the people who are involved here, the people who are probably doing the leaking, are all a bunch of lawyers, and they know exactly where that line is. And they can go right up to that line and not cross it and say, it's not a crime, you can't prosecute me, and you can't write a law to make it a crime because that would be ex post facto. Both sides have had the motive and the opportunity. And both sides are playing all of us to their own benefit, to their own particular argument about where we're going with this. And that's concerning to me, because what happens now? On TikTok and on Twitter and on social media around, we've had, the obvious calls for violence. Some of these TikToks are horrifying in how violent they are calling for people to be in response to this draft opinion. It's interesting to me that yesterday was the official beginning, Tuesday would have been the official beginning of the primary season. So this was released just in time for the summer of primaries. BLM might be passé now. A lot of discussion about the fact that it's going to be hard to get, those people fired up again about BLM because of the reaction and the defund the police. That whole thing has kind of run its course. But what if it's something new? What if it's abortion rights? We're not even talking about the actual meat of the case, or we're not even talking about, is there a right to an abortion versus right to privacy? We're not even talking about that. What we're talking about here is who benefited from this leak and why now? Those are the questions in my mind, which I realize, of course, as soon as you say that, one side will say, that's not what matters. What matters is the actual opinion. It's the only thing that matters. If you want me to believe that, then that's your prerogative. You're being played too. That's the problem. We could see more violence this summer than we've ever seen before over abortion rights. We could. Who knows whether it will happen or not. If the court actually does overturn Roe v. Wade, the left will be infuriated. And they will make gains. They will make gains in their political point system that they think will help them. If the court changes its mind from the draft opinion and upholds Roe, the right will be furious. But they too will make gains, because now imagine a world where they thought they were going to get what they wanted. Obamacare overturned. Whoops, nope. Roe overturned. Whoops, nope. Now you've got more force. I can already guarantee, I can already hear the speech that Trump's going to give if that happens, about why now it's even more important to return me to the White House, because, we got 3 justices under me. We need 2 more. We now sail into waters. This concerns me deeply. We are now sailing into waters where public pressure, leaks, congressional speeches, and we've seen that before, presidents, publics, all believe that their outrage will influence the court's decision. Not the law, not the Constitution. Those things will no longer matter. What will matter is who has the most bricks, who has the most bullhorns, who has the most violent threats. And all of them believe, left and right people, all of them believe that their pressure, their leaks, their congresspeople, their presidents, their outrage, not the law, not the Constitution, will lead us into waters where the Supreme Court will do their bidding. The leak has damaged credibility. It has damaged the credibility of the court, the believability of our system. It has damaged the foundation of our republic. In 2016, by way of example, 2016, there was a case before the United States Supreme Court. Remember what I was talking about earlier with the Prop 8 vote? And how one person, one vote versus one voter, one vote makes a difference. So population, just because there's 500 or 636 people in a congressional district doesn't mean all of them are eligible to vote. But if 636 voters, eligible voters, is the deciding point, then it's different, isn't it? And all of that yellow and blue shift a little bit in California and in other states as well. In 2016, there was a case before the United States Supreme Court to decide exactly that question. Is it one man, one vote, one person, one vote, or is it one voter, one vote? How do we align our congressional districts and our systems like this? And you can see right off the bat where this is going to make a difference. It's going to take power away from urban centers where ineligible populations are overrepresented because they're higher in population. You probably didn't hear about the case because the case was decided. It was heard, it was decided, the opinion was written, but it was not released. And the reason that it was not released was because Justice Antonin Scalia died. And when he died, all of the cases that have been decided but not released go in the trash. They go in the shredder. They go in the burn bag, never to see the light of day, which means that it reverts back to the lower court, which had ruled one person, one vote. The fact that that particular ruling has never been released, it's never been leaked. We don't know what was decided. We suspect that it was 5-4 with Scalia casting the deciding vote. We suspect that it was 5-4 in favor of one voter, one vote, but we don't know that. And it's never been leaked. And to this day, most people don't care. Most people don't even notice. But in this particular case, the credibility of the court, the credibility of our republic have been damaged because now we're no longer doing things behind closed doors with honor and a system that works. Now we're doing it with, you do what I want or I'm going to throw this brick at your head. That's a problem, isn't it? That's potentially destructive to the very idea of democracy. Well, it's actually very pro-democracy. If you define democracy as, three wolves and one sheep voting on what's for dinner, who has the most bricks? We get our way. That is democracy. It's certainly destructive to a republic. In either case, whether it's the left who leaked it or the right who leaked it, and in my view, there are convincing arguments for both. Both had the motive, both had the opportunity, both see benefits. In either case, we as a nation have entered uncharted seas. And like Captain Jack said, here be monsters.